In this session, we're going to talk about operations management. Now, this is one amongst several classes on this topic, and it's advisable that you check each of them and make your own notes and bring it all together. But here we're going to look at different aspects of operations management, and we're going to start with controlling. Now, the process of controlling starts with measurement. We control things when we can measure them. We control functions and processes when we can measure them. If we can't measure them, we can't say categorically that it's good or bad or it's according to standards. Because when we control, we, generally speaking, set up a standard. This is what should be the outcome. This is what the actual outcome is. And we have measured the standard against the actual to get an understanding of what is required, what is the shortfall, or how well are we doing. And from that we can control, we can intervene, control and tweak the process to get a better result. So what we're doing is we're looking at variances from planned outcomes. We plan the outcome and then we look at the differences between what we planned and what we actually get, and that can spark off intervention and some means of controlling the process, tweaking the process, as I said earlier, to try and get a better result. So we analyze the efficiency of the routines undertaken. We're constantly on the lookout to measure these the routines. What are we doing? How are we doing it? How effective is the whole process? Could it be done better? So we're taking a critical view all the time of what we're doing to see if there are improvements to be made. Where targets achieved and what issues arose in the production process. So where the targets achieved? Where did we achieve what we set out to achieve? And if we did, could the targets be increased? Perhaps we achieved the targets and still had some slack in the system. So it may be that the targets themselves were not set appropriately. The targets were too easy, perhaps. We should set targets that are achievable. We can't set targets that are beyond what is reasonable. But at the same time, we should set targets which are realistic, given the resources that we've got. We should analyze the control mechanism. When does a system need intervention? When should we intervene to control the system, to control the mechanism? At what point do we intervene? And there should be tests along the way, indicators to show that intervention is required at this stage or at the following stage, or something is going wrong at this particular part and not that part. And so we're able to trace through the chain of activities to find the weak spots and then intervene to control those weak spots and to improve them. So we can think of 10 critical decisions. So operations management may be involved with looking at the product design or the service design. Is it realistic? Could the service design or the product design be improved to make it better for the customer, but at the same time perhaps easier to produce, more logical, more streamlined? How is quality dealt with within the organization? What if process 1 allows through workmanship or processed materials that are not up to standard? It means process 2, process 3 and so on down the line are going to be dealing with bad materials, inadequate workmanship, or whatever it is. So quality management needs to be at all levels. This is the idea of total quality management, of ensuring that the processes are good quality at each stage in the production process, right up to dispatch, right up to the time the product or the service leaves the institution and goes to the customer. Look at the capacity design. Is there enough capacity in the system to meet the current orders? Is the system vulnerable? If the system is working flat out and working flat out continuously and one machine breaks down or one part of the system breaks down, if it's a service provision, one key worker is away ill, what happens to the business? Does everything stop? So it's important to appreciate what's required in terms of capacity and design the capacity. The location of the business, well, that's at the more macro level, but is the business located at the right place to meet customer needs? If the customers are all in one particular city and the business is located in a different city, maybe that suggests that the business should move. But also we have location internally. Is the design of the business internally, the office design, the production design, the dispatch, the stores, is it all laid out properly? Is everything in the right place? And that brings us on to the layout design more explicitly. The layout of the business, if you like, the location of everything within the business, as I was saying on point 4. But the layout of the business is important as a means of facilitating efficiency. It shouldn't be the case that products in the stores are obscure and stored away at the wrong end of the stores. The ones most popularly used are at the far end of the stores. That does not make sense. It also doesn't make sense if products have to move from one machine and be carried to the other end of the factory and then carried back to the next machine. And there should be a logical, straightforward design. The products should be laid out so as for long-term efficiency. So the business should be located in the right place given its customer base, and the layout of the business should be such as to foster good efficiency. Human resources are critical in any business, and it's important that there is clear job design that's clearly understood by the workers, by the line managers, by the departmental managers, so that everyone knows what their tasks are and can then get on with their work, get on with achieving those tasks. It means also that the workers should be adequately motivated, and it also means that they should be trained and competent and confident, and I suppose happy at work, to make sure that there's no absenteeism. But all of these things relate to a good human resource policy and a good relationship between the operations management and the employees who are doing the work in producing the product or producing the service. The whole supply chain should be looked at to make sure that there's synchronization between the delivery of raw materials, the production system that is synchronized with that delivery, that it fits smoothly into the delivery, so that the items delivered are not held idly in stock. Stock represents resources, cash, tied up, doing nothing. So the supply chain should be to receive the goods and process them as quickly as possible into the final required product and then dispatched out of the way. The job is done. The value has been added and the business can then invoice for the work done. So an efficient supply chain is also important. There should be good inventory management in the store. Items should not sit around for a long time, as I said earlier, doing nothing. That's cash that's not working for the business. And there should be policies about how the products are priced when they come out of the stores. When companies place order for raw materials or components, prices vary in the market. Prices vary because of inflation or because companies change their price lists. Well, if there are existing stocks and the new order is going to be added to it, then how does the store price out its products? Now, there are different ways of doing it. You could take the first price, the oldest products in the store, and take that price and then charge that price to production. That's called FIFO, first in, first out. It could be the last products in, which represents the most current price of the product, LIFO, last in, first out. And it could be priced on that basis. So there are different ways in which inventory can be costed. But essentially, what we're talking about here is the efficient management of inventory, so that stores management is run so that there is minimum stock held, subject to the security of delivery and continuation of production. Work should be scheduled. It shouldn't be haphazard. Once orders arrive, it just shouldn't haphazardly go through the system. It should be scheduled properly. And if possible, a Gantt chart should be set up. So it shows when jobs start, when the job ends, when a certain machine is required, how long the job will be on that machine, so that there is full information right throughout the system of where the work has got to, where that particular job is, on which machine it is. There is good control over the flow of production, and the flow of production is scheduled appropriately. And there should be maintenance. Maintenance of machines is important. Maintenance of the whole working environment is important. It's important that every aspect of the building, of the factory, of every machine, and all of the ancillary machines that are required, all of them are maintained so that there are no breakdowns. A breakdown in the system is a waste of money again, a waste of resources. Overheads will continue and the company is not producing. So there should be maintenance, good maintenance throughout. There are other parts we could add to this, more on the human resource part, for example, and the good working relationships that are required, the goodwill that's required on the shop floor. These are dealt with in other classes, in other modules as well. But this is the basics of these 10 critical decisions and how operations management should deal with these. Now, the functions of operations management. Well, first of all, procurement, the purchasing practices. It's important to review guidelines for purchasing, negotiate discounts and delivery. So it's important for operations management, the buying section of operations management, to ensure that it's getting the right quantities of the raw materials or components or whatever it is they're buying in, and get the right quantities at the right prices. So it's important that there is an efficient procurement system. There's the management control and coordinating function. It's important to monitor and control to ensure that the organizational goals are consistently met in an effective and efficient fashion. Once the goals have been set up, then it's necessary for operations management to monitor and control what is happening so that the goals are met. It's not good to get to the end of the period, to get to the end of an accounting period or get to the end of some planning period and find that the goals that were set were not achieved, that there were big discrepancies in what was achieved versus what was planned. Now that can happen for various reasons. It could be the goals were too too demanding. The goals were too demanding to start and could not be achieved. Or it could be that simply the control within the workplace was not adequate. There were inefficiencies in the workplace, and that's where operations management needs to focus, to make sure that there is good control and good working practices to make sure that the organizational goals are met. Product, service and management. Well, it's similar to operations management. It's just a definitional difference almost. It's just almost a play on words. But product and service management deals with the product, as the name suggests. It deals with the service management. Whereas operations management is much wider. Operations management is looking at managing the entire organization. Product and service management relates to the product or the service, looking at the individual product or the service. Probably the easiest way to understand this is that within a medium-sized business there might be several products, and the operations management is to ensure that the whole business is running efficiently and smoothly. The product management will look at individual products and to make sure that those individual products are being produced efficiently and to good quality, etc. So we have a slight difference here. We have the operations management looking after the entire organization, and we have the product and service management looking after individual products. Quality management, well, this is important and it should really relate to operations management. Processes should be continuously monitored, and there should be continuous improvement in the quality of the goods. If the quality of the goods is a high standard, customers will be happy, customers will be satisfied, they will place repeat orders, and the business will prosper. If the quality is bad, the business will suffer. So it's important to have benchmarking so that they know what a good quality is versus what they're actually doing. There should be some attempt at total quality management. There should be some attempt at monitoring the quality right throughout the workplace to make sure that each part is of good quality. It's important that right throughout the production system, or it could be a service delivery, but right throughout the phases in the delivery of that service, quality is checked to make sure that it all adds up in the end to a good quality product, one which the customer will like. Inventory management. Well, operations management must implement inventory management policies such as just-in-time if possible. Just-in-time is very efficient, but it can be risky. It depends on the reliability of suppliers. It depends on if the suppliers make a pledge to deliver the raw materials or components on a certain day, will they deliver? What if the lorries break down or there is a problem somewhere in the system? What if their machinery is breaking down as well, or whatever? That means that companies further down the supply chain will start to suffer. They're not receiving the goods as per the promises and the plans. So just in time, although it will save on holding stock in the stores, it can be risky. So some element of security for the business may be required. Depends on the nature of the business, depends on the reputation and capacity of the suppliers. But maybe, just maybe, it might be wise for businesses to hold stocks to enable them to continue for a week, let's say, just in case deliveries were not met. the business is able to continue for a week whilst they're able to progress what happened, why they haven't received their delivery or whatever. Just in time is logical because it saves resources. There's minimum stock in the stores, or in the extreme, there are no stores. There is no need for the store. The goods are delivered exactly just in time for production. The production system is just ready to start rolling when the delivery happens. That's just in time. But that's a very idealistic world. Lots can happen to intervene. Lots can happen to stop that perfect synchronization of deliveries with production. So generally speaking, companies may want to hold some stock, a small amount of stock, just to keep them going for a few days, just in case something goes wrong. But it depends crucially on the type of business, the location of the companies that are supplying the raw materials, etc. It depends on the reputation of those companies and their history. There's also a function for logistics and transport management. This deals with the flow of goods from suppliers through the production process to the customers, and all done with efficiency and cost effectiveness. Really, we consider once the goods come off the production line, they go to dispatch. And dispatch should look at the most efficient ways of moving the goods to the customers. Who placed the order? Where did the goods go? When were the orders required? And some explanation as to why they're late, if they are late, and if they're on time. Dispatch it in the most efficient manner. That may be running a fleet of transport. The business runs a fleet of transport, or it could be they use couriers or outsource the transportation to some reputable company who will deliver the product. So it's constantly under review as to what is the best way of moving the goods from the business to the customer most efficiently. Facilities management. Well, the assets of the business, such as buildings, computer systems, signage, the signs outside the business, the machinery, the lighting, they must all be effectively managed. There must be some control over the buildings and the maintenance of the buildings, the maintenance of the computer systems, and all of that must be looked after and must be dealt with efficiently. Also, we've got distribution channels. The means of distribution depends very much on the nature of the product or service. It overlaps with what I've just said about logistics. What distribution channels should be used? Should it be outsourced to independent businesses who specialize in transportation and logistics, or should it be done in-house with their own fleet of trucks or vans or whatever? Depends on the nature of the product. Depends on what it is. For example, if it's a marketing business designing marketing plans for other businesses, then the final document may be emailed, perhaps, and that's the distribution channel. So it depends on the nature of the business. It may be something, a business that's making some heavy piece of equipment, in which case some very specialist piece of transport may be required. So what channels are going to be used? How are the products going to be delivered? That is the issue. So what we've done in this session is we've looked at lots of functions of operations management, and we've tried to get a picture for what operations management do. That's all I'm going to deal with in this session. I'm going to leave it at that. And as I said, this is one class amongst several on this topic, so it's wise to look at the others to get a fuller picture, and of course do lots of supplementary reading. But that's all I'm going to do on this session. I'm going to leave it at that and say thank you for watching.